Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is Scotty, the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube for weekly videos for cosplay fandom, interviews, tips on how to build your cosplay brand, and of course, always a safe space for you to share your stories and what motivates you to stay active in the community and contribute to our cause to bring cosplayers together in this space. Now, you can find us online at www.heroesofcosplaysanctuary.com for all the merchandise and all the latest on the show. Speaking of merchandise, I see that the new shirt found its way to our co-host, the very careful and calculating Astrovoid Cosplay. Welcome back, Astra. How are you doing?
I am great. I will sit like this the entire episode if I have to. It came in. I love it so much. I'm great. This is lovely.
That's good. No, it turned out really well. Of course, you can find that online. There's a merch section on the website. Should you be interested in following along at home with us. And yeah, the topic for today, besides talking up stuff that you can buy, is about taking time out with cosplay, because I think it comes up very often. Cosplayers are nearly like I see people do it in their stories and just all over the place, that they almost apologize when they can't constantly send out new content. It seems to happen. It seems to happen a lot, and they aren't necessarily comfortable about taking a time out. I mean, really, for everything that you do inside cosplay, for all of the effort that it takes and the creative energy that you need in order to keep things going, I think it's totally acceptable to not post constantly. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Astra.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I get burnt out very easily all the time. And, you also have to remember, we're not just like stick figures on a billboard. We have depth, we have dimension, we have life, we have personal life, we have personal issues, and we have family, we have friends, we have all kinds of things going on. So I definitely think it gets a little lost sometimes in there, because people look at our content, they look at us as just people on the internet, and they don't look at us as like actual people. So I know personally myself, I have a really hard time being able to say, hey, I'm taking a step back right now because I have to focus on this. Also, because I don't like having to explain myself, but I feel like I kind of owe it at the same time, because I feel like if I don't, it almost looks ungrateful, I guess. Because I do have so many people who look at me and they're like, hey, when are you gonna do the thing you promised? And I'm like, I'm trying. So balancing that is really tough.
Yeah, it's all about balance, and I think that it's also hard for the onlooker to always understand that this isn't a full-time thing. It does take a lot of effort, and there's a lot of resources that go into it. Cosplay is not cheap. It's fairly expensive as a hobby and as something that you share online. There's just a lot of components. We've talked about it in prior seasons, so we're not going to get into like all of the many things and go down that road, but just that it is all-consuming at times. You have a lot to keep up with. It's continual building. It's sharing all of that information with everybody, whether it's work in progress. If you do a lot, I see a lot of people on Twitch now sharing more of what they do with their cosplays and their builds, and it's like hours and hours and hours of being on platform. And it's a lot. It's photo shoots, it's creating a website, it's PR, it's being at events and being in amongst the public and just doing all this stuff and trying to schedule all the time for everything. But then you also need to consider yourself and consider that you need time for you.
It's funny because I just saw somebody post about this recently, but they were playing a video game, I believe, and they made a post about, somebody was like, oh, I see you have time to play this, but you don't have time to post content. And she kind of was like, yeah, because I kind of need this, or I'm going to lose my mind. I need a break. And we shouldn't feel guilty for that, but a lot of times content creators do, especially big YouTubers, people who have schedules and stuff that, it's hard for people to understand, but it's not always an all the time thing. And I had somebody question me on this myself, you know, a while back. I talked about motivation with doing things. And somebody said, well, if it's something that you love, you should be motivated to do it all the time. And I was like, well, not necessarily. There are a lot of
No, definitely
factors.
not. Yeah.
No, there are a lot of factors, you know, depression, anxiety, busyness, just
Hunger.
sometimes you need a break,
Sometimes
you
you get
know,
hangry and you just
all
can't do
kinds of
anything.
things, all kinds of things. And, you know, sometimes you just get burnt out. For
Mhm.
me, like sometimes I love doing the creation process if it's something new. Other times it gets monotonous and I hate it. And I just want to wear it. I just want to call it a day. But I know that I can't wear it until it exists. So I have to go through it. And it's hard to explain that to somebody who doesn't do that, I guess.
And just because you don't post things on a day-to-day doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. And I think that's also hard for people to understand is like,
Right.
there's a lot that goes into creating all of this. And some people don't have just every single day to curate content. A lot of things have to happen behind the scenes once a week, twice a week when they have time to do that because they have a lot going on. That isn't always apparent because you really just you're looking at that post, it's 30 seconds of your day or less, and then you're just okay, next one. But just to do that one thing that someone glanced at for a few seconds could have taken weeks. It could have been, you know, a photo shoot on location that took a whole day, and then editing, and then, you know, it just there's so much that we don't always just take into consideration. We just the thing, and I know I've said this before, so I'm repeating myself here, but one thing that I just think is funny, and it's hard to sometimes stop myself from doing, is you see one character that somebody has a photo of, and immediately to comment is another character that they should try. I find myself doing this where I'm like, oh, you would make such a great something that I haven't seen you do yet. It's like, but they just put this one, they just put one together. Like they just shared this. It's brand new.
Yeah. Oh man. Like the thing is, I love it when people give me ideas, but at the same time, it depends on how they present it. You know, I've had people who get kind of aggressive and they're like, you need to do this thing or do this thing. And I'm like, well, are you gonna pay my bills? Like, I mean, you know, it's are you gonna sponsor? Are you gonna pay for it yourself? And I don't want to hear it. You know, it takes a long time. I'm working on
Mhm.
Carnage MJ right now, and
Yeah, I
one
saw that. You were working on the
one of
boots.
my boots, one of them, one of the two boots that I have to do has already taken me a couple days. I had to get more latex in, so I have to wait on that. But you know, there's a lot that you don't see. The creation process alone can take anywhere from a couple days to months. And like you said, getting ready, scheduling a shoot, going to the shoot, doing the shoot, getting back, editing the pictures, you know, it's it can be a lot in the making, and then for somebody to kind of just crap on it and be like, I could do this better, or you know, this isn't accurate because in the comics she had this belt detail, and it's like, man.
The critics, the people who have to like, that's not film accurate. Okay,
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry.
exhausting. It's like, man, you take the same time with what I did, and I want to see you do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely for sure. I know I went on a tangent there, but for sure, you know, take the breaks that you need, and also don't feel guilty for taking breaks in the middle of a project
Mhm.
because sometimes you need to. Um, it is what it is. People who don't do this or don't do a form of creation, I don't think will be able to understand necessarily the burnout that happens. Sometimes it happens out of nowhere. You have no warning. You just wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to exist, and it just happens. But we push through it, and it'll be okay. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to not take breaks if you don't need them. I'm always worried about disappointing someone. So I always worry about that. And I think that sometimes those numbers can kind of get to you, and it just makes you worry. I worry about everything all the time. So,
Yeah, I often say hope for the best, plan for the worst, because you just don't know. And yes, there's definitely a feeling the more people that you have that pay attention to what you're doing online, the more you feel obligated to continue to produce at scale for them. You want to outdo yourself so that they're still interested in what you're creating. And but there's, I guess, a deeper connection that perhaps if you're only doing it to pander to the masses, that could be very tiring, frustrating, and yes, it leads to burnout and stress. It starts to feel like a job, which for many of us, it is not a full-time job. And if you're not doing any of this for yourself, that, I guess, to me, it's really hard to connect with all that time and energy, like to think about the investment in yourself that you're putting into all of this, and then not have any of it be for what you want or for what you're about. Putting it to the side sometimes doesn't mean like you're going to get bad at it, or that people are just going to wander off. And really, if they do, were those the people you wanted staying around anyway? Like, if they're
Yeah.
just fair weather followers, and if you're not posting at their, how they want it, you know, that I don't know if you want to really invest emotionally in those connections.
Right. I think you need to be a little selfish sometimes, and it's okay to be selfish sometimes. And something that I had to kind of learn, and I guess relearn, is um, when I started cosplay, it was for myself because I loved those characters. And then it kind of morphed into people saying, oh, you look like so and so, or oh, you should do this, or I want to see you do this. And then it turned into me providing for everyone else and then losing the outlet that I originally had for myself. So, what I kind of learned to do, what I started to do, or what I wanted to do, was I do all the projects that I want to do now. I have a lot of projects that I want to do that or characters that I want to do that I don't think people really know or maybe aren't as popular in the moment. And I get requested every single day, do Poison Ivy, do Batgirl, do this, do that. So I decided, okay, in a way to honor all of you and also to make sure that I don't, lose you guys. Every time I hit a new milestone, I'll let you guys pick a new cosplay I do, and I'll work on it and I'll do it. That way I can still do what I love, but I don't get burnt out doing things that not necessarily that I don't love, but that I'm not immediately involved with. So that way everybody's happy, world goes round, and it's okay. But I put a poll up, and I said, or a question box, and I said, anything you want me to do, put it in this box. The most voted, I'll put a poll up, and you'll decide. And I let them do that. I picked the most popular ones. I put up. Maleficent happened to win. Poison Ivy was very close as a second, so I'm sure the next mile. So that's what I'll do. But
I didn't vote for either of those, but
I know,
that.
I know which one you voted for. I know which that was a very
I'm,
close. That was
were
a very
there
close one.
were there even two people who voted for that one? I don't think there were. Like, it's
I
probably
think
too obscure.
no. I think you underestimate it. The top votes were Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Poison Ivy, and Maleficent. And for a good couple hours, Barbara Gordon was winning.
Interesting.
It was, I want to say, a couple below Poison Ivy at the end, and Poison Ivy was, I want to say, like one away from beating Maleficent. It was all so close together. But yeah, this way it's kind of like a fun little thing that way everybody who follows me gets to kind of be involved in. And it's, I get to still create it, I get to still make it, and I still love those characters. They're just not on the top of my list. So I get to build things like my gross, amazing Carnage MJ, and I also get to give you guys, Maleficent and the things that you really want to see. So that was my best advice for terms of taking breaks and burnout and balancing it all, was do the things that you love to do. And maybe every so often, for milestone reasons, you could just be like, hey, what do you guys want to see from me? And if it's small, maybe I'll just kind of whip it out as a surprise. But big projects take time. And I also think they're more appreciated when they are, there's that time given. So
that creative process, you don't want to rush that. You don't want to just do it because you believe you're on this deadline for everyone else. And honestly, it's okay if you take breaks, because you just can't be 24/7 with all this stuff and go to work and have school and then try and constantly edit, constantly produce
right.
content, constantly create cosplays. It's okay. Like, it's okay to play a video game without having your camera on. It's okay to make a cosplay without having it be on your live stream or on IGTV. and it's okay to do nothing. Like it's
Yeah.
fine. Like I don't think we've really earned the right as just people who follow people online to say whether or not somebody should or shouldn't do something. Like if you want to take 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday to watch, watch something on Disney Plus, why am I telling you that you're lazy? Like that's I don't think that's fair. But or even if anybody even knows that you're doing that, but there's just there's a line that I think a lot of people are very afraid of. If they stop posting, they believe it will lead to irrelevance. And I would say, you can't produce at scale. You can't create things that people will be interested in if you're constantly working at burnout.
Back to what you said earlier, I mean, when the new Resident Evil came out, I'm pretty sure I locked myself in a room for like a week and I didn't come back out. I didn't see the light of sun, light of day for a while. And that's okay. Sometimes, you need to do that. Speaking of busy, I have a test today. It's just everybody has their things and everybody's trying their best. And I think that it can definitely kind of wrap you up if you're not careful. And that's how you get burnt out. You take a step back and you're like, wow, what am I doing with all my days? Especially now that, things are opening back up and getting back out into the world, it's kind of unrealistic to think that you can function at the same capacity that you did when you had nothing else going on, Yeah,
and I think we've covered the subject today. So if you agree, go ahead and hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so that you can receive notifications when new content comes out, because it will be coming out all season from now until December. We are really excited. Astrovoid, would you like to send our audience on their way?
Absolutely. So as Scotty said, all of the socials will be down below if you're on YouTube, in the description box, and all of that fun stuff. The Instagram, the TikToks, the YouTubes. If you're already on YouTube, then you know where you are. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening and for being here. Thank you, Scotty. And I hope I see you and hear from you guys all next week. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.